The difference between poverty and riches is not hard work, it is not luck, it is not chance. It is one formula, one law of divine supply that makes money rush to you when you speak it. If you are poor today, it is because you have not yet applied it, but when you do, riches will obey your command. In this lesson, I will give you the has-shown formula to get rich off divine supply. You will learn the exact words to speak daily that unlock your fortune. You will see why so many prayers for money fail and how this one command reverses poverty and makes supply flow. If you have ever feared bills, debts, or lack, what I give you today will end that fear and open a new chapter of freedom. You have been told wealth is for the few, that you must labor, save, and struggle. But I tell you, money is obedient. It is not master but servant. It comes when called in the right way. The problem is most people call it by false names: hard, scarce, difficult, not enough. They beg it as if it were their master. And so money hides from them. But when you call it by its true name, when you use the formula of divine supply, it comes at once, faithfully, joyously, without toil. I will show you how to speak this formula until it becomes the law of your life. Stay with me, for in this lesson I will open the treasury of divine supply. First, I will reveal the exact formula you must speak daily to command riches. Then, I will show you why the world has failed, why their words have cursed them instead of blessing them. I will give you stories of men and women who turned their last dollar into a river of abundance by applying this law. And finally, I will arm you with affirmations so strong they will shatter fear and make money flow as faithfully as water down a hill. Do not expect the usual teaching, expect a revelation. For if you stress about money, today that stress ends. And if you long for riches, today you learn the formula that makes them appear. Here's something most people completely miss, and because they miss it, they remain trapped in the circle of lack. Every word you speak plants a seed. Your tongue is the plow, your subconscious is the soil, and your affairs are nothing more than the harvest of the words you have sown. You may think your words vanish into the air, light as breath, gone in an instant, but they do not vanish. They travel forth, they take root, they set law in motion, and they return clothed in circumstances, clothed in supply, clothed in experiences that match the very vibration you sent out. This is why the scripture declares, life and death are in the power of the tongue. With every word you speak, you are sowing life or death, poverty or wealth, chains or freedom. Think of the farmer in his field. If he plants corn, he cannot reap roses. If he sows weeds, he cannot expect wheat. The harvest is always in kind with the seed, so it is with your life. The words you have spoken yesterday are the crop you are standing in today. If your speech has been filled with fear, complaint, and curses, then your field will be overrun with weeds. If your speech is filled with blessing, faith, and praise, then your field will be rich with wheat. It cannot be otherwise, for the law is exact and unfailing. Words are not idle, they are seeds, and seeds never fail to produce their kind. Many people excuse themselves and say, "But I was only joking, I didn't mean it." Yet the subconscious does not laugh. It has no sense of humor. It does not ask if you meant it or not. It hears only the command. It obeys the words spoken, whether in jest or in earnest. I once knew a woman who, tired of her home, often said with a laugh, "I wish I lived in a trunk." She thought it clever, she thought it harmless. But her words were seeds, and the subconscious took them as law. In time, her affairs collapsed until she was literally forced to live out of a trunk. Another woman, well provided for, was in the habit of saying, "I am getting ready for the poorhouse." She repeated it so often, half in jest, that her subconscious accepted it as truth. And not long after, she was reduced to the brink of destitution. These are not coincidences, they are demonstrations of law. But here is the comfort, and it is a glorious comfort. The same law that brings lack can bring plenty. The same tongue that cursed can bless. The same word that chained you can free you. A woman once came to me with only $8. She was fearful, trembling, discouraged. Her words had been full of complaint. "I never have enough. I don't see a way out. Money always slips away." Those seeds had borne their bitter harvest. But I told her, "We will bless the $8 and we will multiply it. Let us declare, God is my supply, and money now flows to me quickly, easily, joyously, under grace, in perfect ways." She obeyed. She turned her complaint into blessing, her curse into praise. And soon after, she was led to an old friend who opened for her a channel of abundance, and thousands came rushing into her life. She said afterward, "Tell everyone about the woman who had $8 and a hunch." And so I do, because it proves the law. Words are seeds, and the harvest comes swiftly when you sow in faith. So I ask you, what have you been planting? What is growing in your field today? Look around you. Your conditions are nothing but the crops sprung from yesterday's words. If you want a new harvest, sow new seeds. Never again say, "I am broke." Say instead, "I am rich in divine supply." Never again say, "I can't afford." Say instead, "God makes a way for me, and I have more than enough." Never again sigh, "It never works for me." Say instead, "Everything I do prospers, for I am aligned with divine law." Plant these seeds, and the harvest cannot fail. This is why I say, your word is your wand. Wield it with care. Speak only what you desire to see. Refuse to plant weeds with careless complaints. Bless your money, bless your work, bless your health, bless your future, and the field of your life will grow green with abundance. For words, plant your fortune, and the harvest is always sure. And now that you see how words plant seeds in the soil of your life, you must understand another truth. The subconscious never laughs. It takes every word, whether you mean it or not, as a command, and that is where most people lose their fortune without knowing it. Here is a truth so many stumble over, and yet it is the very reason why their lives seem to unravel without warning. The subconscious has no sense of humor. It does not laugh. It does not wink. It does not excuse you when you say, "I didn't mean it." It takes every word, every phrase, every casual statement as law, and it works day and night to fulfill what has been spoken. The reasoning mind may chuckle at your words, your friends may laugh, but the subconscious does not laugh, it obeys. That is why Jesus warned, "By thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned." There is no escape. Every word plants itself in the soil of the subconscious, and the harvest is sure. I have seen it too many times to doubt it. A woman once said over and over, half in jest, "I am sick and tired of this home. I wish I could pack it up and live in a trunk." She thought she was being clever, she thought it harmless. But the subconscious, hearing her words, set to work to make them law. Her circumstances collapsed until she was forced to live out of a trunk. Another woman, comfortably provided for, repeated often, "I suppose I'll end up in the poorhouse." She said it laughing, but the subconscious does not laugh. In time, her fortune dwindled, and she stood on the very edge of poverty, staring at the things she had joked into being. These are not tales of chance, they are the exact demonstration of law. So I tell you, with all the force of truth, never joke about poverty, never jest about failure, never make light of disease, never toss careless words into the air and say, "It doesn't matter." For every word matters. Every word is a seed, and the subconscious is a faithful servant. It cannot distinguish between jest and earnest, between truth and lie, between what you fear and what you desire. It simply records the vibration and brings it forth into form. The man who constantly says, "I can't afford it," will soon be unable to afford anything. The woman who sighs, "I always get the worst of it," will surely see that law fulfilled. The one who declares, "I never get ahead," will find his path blocked at every turn. They may protest, "But I didn't mean it." The subconscious answers, "It is law, for you spoke it." Yet here is the glory, the same law that binds you can free you. Just as the subconscious obeys careless curses, it obeys deliberate blessings. When you speak truth, when you declare abundance, when you affirm health, when you pronounce freedom, the subconscious takes those words and shapes them into your affairs. One student of mine began to say daily, "I have a magic purse. It is crammed, jammed with money. It can never be depleted." At the time she had only $2, but she refused to call it little. She called it abundant, overflowing, inexhaustible. Soon she received a gift of $6,000. Her words, once planted, grew into a harvest she could not have imagined. So I ask you, what words are you scattering as jokes, as complaints, as idle chatter? Look closely, for they are shaping your tomorrow. Your subconscious is recording them now, etching them into the law of your life. If you do not wish to live them, do not speak them. Guard your tongue. Train it to bless, to affirm, to declare only what you desire to see. Refuse to curse yourself with careless humor. Refuse to set in motion a harvest of weeds, for the subconscious does not laugh, it obeys. This is why I tell my students, never say anything you do not want to come true. Never let your tongue paint pictures you do not wish to live. Speak only life, only wealth, only health, only joy, and your subconscious will shape your affairs to match. And now that you understand the subconscious takes every word as law, whether spoken in jest or in fear, you are ready to see the great reversal, how curses can be broken, how blessings can be spoken, and how one new word can undo years of bondage. Here is the glory of divine law, and it is this: no curse is final, no careless word is eternal. No past mistake has the power to bind you when you turn and speak the word of truth. The same tongue that cursed you can bless you, the same lips that imprisoned you can set you free, the same speech that sowed weeds can now scatter seeds of wheat, and the same law that seemed against you will fight for you the very moment you reverse your words. People often come to me saying, "Have I ruined my life by the things I have spoken? Have I cut myself off from good by years of complaint, of fear, of false affirmations?" And I tell them, no. The law is merciful. What has been planted in ignorance can be uprooted in wisdom. What has been spoken in fear can be overturned by faith. What was once a curse can now be replaced by blessing. Consider again the woman who came to me with only $8, trembling, filled with dread. Her past words had been curses. She had said, "This is not enough. I will never get ahead. I always fail." And her life obeyed her. But when I told her, "We will bless the $8 and we will multiply it," she obeyed. She took the same tongue that had cursed her money and used it to bless her money. She said, "I bless this money and it multiplies. I bless this seed and it grows." And within days, a door opened, an old connection was revived, and thousands flowed into her life. She said afterward, "Tell people about the woman who had $8 and a hunch." And so I do, for she proves this law. Blessing breaks curses, praise multiplies supply, and a new word of truth can rewrite the records of years. Another student told me she was in the habit of saying, "Money slips through my fingers." She thought she was describing her condition, but she was creating it. Her subconscious, faithful and exact, kept money slipping away from her no matter how much she earned. I told her, "Stop speaking the curse, speak the blessing. Say instead, money sticks to me. Money stays with me. Money serves me faithfully, and I use it wisely." She obeyed. At first she felt foolish, for her purse was empty. But she continued, and soon she noticed a change. Gifts came, investments held, her savings grew. One day she exclaimed, "It is as though money has turned into my servant." And indeed it had, for her words had reversed the curse. This is the great principle. Every negative word has its positive reversal. If you have been saying, "I am always unlucky," you may replace it with, "I am divinely guided, and everything I do prospers." If you have been saying, "I can't afford it," you may replace it with, "God makes a way for me, and I have more than enough." If you have been saying, "I am sick of this," you may replace it with, "I bless this, and it multiplies into good." The law does not hold grudges. The moment you speak the new word, the moment you plant the new seed, the moment you bless instead of curse, the harvest begins to change. I want you to picture your words as the rudder of a great ship. For years, you may have turned that rudder towards storms, reefs, and disaster, and the ship of your life has followed. But at any instant, you may turn the rudder. At first, the waves may still toss, the winds may still howl, but the ship is turning. Soon you find yourself in calmer waters, and eventually you sail into safe harbors of abundance. The moment you reverse your words, you reverse your course. So I ask you, what curses will you break today? What blessings will you begin to speak? Will you go on saying, "I am poor," or will you say, "I am rich by divine right"? Will you go on saying, "I never get ahead," or will you say, "I advance quickly, safely, joyously, under grace"? Will you go on saying, "Everything is hard," or will you declare, "Everything comes to me easily, under grace, in perfect ways"? The choice is yours, and the law will obey either way. For remember this: no curse can withstand the blessing, no fear can stand against faith, No bondage can resist the spoken word of truth. From this moment forward, turn your tongue into an instrument of blessing. Speak only what you desire to see. For the word of blessing will multiply your supply, and your life will become the visible proof that the curse is broken and the harvest is good. And now that you see how curses can be overturned and blessings can multiply, let us step into the next revelation, the very formula itself. The daily word that unlocks the vaults of heaven and makes supply hasten to your side. Now that you understand words are seeds, let me show you the greatest secret most people never dare to believe. Money itself is divine substance. It is not wicked, it is not cruel, it is not scarce. It is not hard to get. These are the false names men and women have placed upon it, and because they call it by those names, money flees from them. The law is exact: whatever you name a thing, that it becomes to you. If you call money scarce, it will be scarce. If you call it hard, it will be hard. If you call it dirty, it will slip from your hands. But if you call it abundant, obedient, faithful, and ever-flowing, it will hasten to prove itself so. Do you not see? Money is nothing more than a symbol, a channel through which the inexhaustible riches of God flow into form. God is the source, money is the servant. God is the fountain, money is the stream. When you despise the stream, you block the fountain. When you bless the stream, you keep it flowing. That is why I teach my students to say, daily, God is my supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. This is the formula, the key, the law in words. It is not a string of pretty phrases, it is a command. It is a declaration to the universe, and the universe must obey. Let me give you proof. A woman once came to me with only $2 in her purse. Fear and despair were written on her face. She said, "How can $2 be enough? How can I live?" I told her, "Do not curse the purse, do not despise the small seed. Call it full, call it overflowing, call it inexhaustible." I gave her an affirmation. My purse is a magic purse. It is crammed, jammed with money. It can never be depleted. As money goes out, immediately money comes in. It is always crammed, jammed, packed with abundance. She obeyed. She refused to call it empty. She refused to say, "Only $2. She spoke as though it were bursting with plenty. And in a short time, a gift of $6,000 was placed in her hands. $2 became $6,000 because she stopped cursing and started blessing. She called money by its right name. The world will mock this. The reasoning mind will sneer. You cannot get money by words. But I say to you, in the beginning was the Word, and by the Word was all made that was made. If words can create worlds, can they not also call forth dollars? If words can set planets in their orbits, can they not arrange your affairs? Men toil and sweat, striving for scraps, while one who knows the law speaks a word and receives. The world laughs, but the law does not laugh, it obeys. And while the doubter struggles, the believer prospers. So I ask you, what names are you calling money? Have you been calling it scarce, hard, elusive, never enough? If so, you have driven it from your life. Begin today to call it by its true name. Say daily, money is divine substance. Money is my faithful servant. Money comes to me quickly, easily, joyously, under grace, in perfect ways. Do not wait for proof before you speak. Speak, and proof will follow. Do not look into the empty purse and sigh. Look into it and declare, "This is full, overflowing, inexhaustible." The subconscious does not ask if it is true, it obeys your word, and then shapes your affairs to match. Remember this: God is the source. Money is the channel. You need not fear channels drying up, for the fountain never fails. If one channel closes, another will open. But if you curse the stream, you cut yourself off from the fountain, bless the stream, and you keep yourself aligned with the source. So fix these words in your heart: God is my supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Speak them morning and night. Speak them over your purse, over your work, over your bills, over your future. Refuse to call money by false names. Refuse to curse the servant God has given you. Call it faithful, call it abundant, call it obedient, and it will obey. And now that you know the formula of words, you must also know the formula of action. For words without works are dead. Faith must be proven by preparation. Let us move now into the law of preparation, where you act as though the supply is already here, and in so doing, you unlock the channel of abundance. Here is the next step in the great formula, and it is one that many stumble over. It is not enough to speak abundance while living as though poverty ruled you. Words alone will not avail if your actions contradict them. Faith must be proven by preparation. To say, God is my supply, and then to act as if supply will never come, is to cancel your own command. The universe listens not only to your words but to your works, and when the two agree, the law is fulfilled without fail. The scripture says, faith without works is dead, and indeed, it is dead speech to declare wealth while walking in the vibration of fear, while clutching every coin as though God's supply were uncertain, while refusing to prepare for the very abundance you are calling. But when you prepare as though your riches are already here, when you make ready for the feast before the table is spread, when you dig your ditches before the rain falls, then the law has no choice but to fill your preparation with the substance of supply. Think of the story in the Bible of the 3 kings who wandered in the desert with no water for their armies or their beasts. They cried out for relief, and the prophet Elisha gave them a command that must have sounded absurd. Ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain. Yet make this valley full of ditches. Imagine their reasoning minds protesting. Why dig ditches in a dry desert where no rain is in sight? Yet they obeyed. They dug the ditches as if water were already rushing to fill them. And in the morning, the valley was full of water, though no rain had fallen, and their armies and their cattle drank and were saved. Do you see the law? They prepared in faith, and God filled their preparation. If they had refused to dig, the blessing could not have come. So it is in your life. If you say, I believe supply is on its way, yet you make no room for it, you take no step toward it, you refuse to prepare, then you reveal that you do not believe. Faith that does not prepare is not faith, but doubt wearing a mask. But the moment you act as if your good is already here, you prove your faith, and God rushes to meet you with substance. I recall a woman who longed for an apartment in New York at a time when apartments were impossible to find. Her friends told her it was hopeless, that she should give up, store her furniture, and accept defeat. But she would not. She declared daily, Infinite Spirit opens the way for my right apartment. Then one day she had a prompting to buy new blankets. For a moment she hesitated, reasoning, why buy blankets when I have no place to lay them? But then she remembered, preparation proves faith. She bought the blankets, acting as if the apartment were already hers. Soon after, out of hundreds of applicants, she alone was given a beautiful apartment, exactly what she desired. The blankets had been her ditches, and God filled them with water. Another man desired a trip abroad, but had no money. He declared, I give thanks for my divinely designed trip, divinely financed, under grace, in perfect ways. But he did not stop there. He went out and bought a trunk for the voyage. He looked at that trunk every day, seeing himself already boarding the ship, already on the ocean, already walking the streets of the foreign land. Soon after, the money arrived, the opportunity opened, and he took the trip in every detail he had imagined. His trunk was his ditch, and God filled it. Do you see now why it is not enough to speak without preparing? If you declare abundance, but clutch your purse in fear, your fear has canceled your faith. If you affirm wealth but refuse to make room for it, you have closed the door. If you speak freedom but still bow to lack in your actions, you prove you do not believe. But if you prepare, if you take one bold step as though your good were already here, then you prove your faith, and the law never fails to respond. So I ask you, what ditch will you dig today? What step will you take to prove your belief? Will you buy the blankets for the home you have not yet seen? Will you set aside a place for the money you have not yet received? Will you write the acceptance letter for the job you have not yet been offered? Will you give thanks for the voyage before the ticket is in your hand? Do something now that proves you believe, and watch how swiftly the law fills your preparation with substance. Never forget. Faith speaks, and then it acts. Faith declares, and then it prepares. Faith proves itself by obedience, and God always honors proof. So do not merely say, I believe, show that you believe. Prepare as though your good is already here, and soon you will see it rushing to meet you. And now that you know the law of preparation, we must deal with the enemy that often rises to cancel it, fear. For many begin well, they speak, they prepare, and then fear creeps in and erases it all. So let us now turn to break the grip of fear and doubt, and see how to cast them out once and for all. Now I must speak plainly, for this truth cannot be softened. Fear is not weakness, fear is not merely emotion, fear is faith, but faith turned upside down. Fear is faith in evil. Fear is faith that the wrong thing will happen, that lack is waiting at your door, that sickness is stalking your body, that loss is crouching in the shadows. Fear is the creative force of the soul misused, for the same law that brings your good when you believe will bring your ruin when you fear. This is why Jesus rebuked his disciples in the storm, saying, "Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith?" He knew that fear and faith cannot dwell together. One must rule and the other must flee. If fear rules, faith is gone. If faith rules, fear dissolves. Every moment of your life you are choosing, will you put your faith in God, or will you put your faith in evil? I knew a man who became obsessed with a rare disease. He read about it, studied its symptoms, imagined its grip upon his body. He rehearsed the picture so vividly that it consumed him. His reasoning mind said, "It is unlikely, it is rare," but his subconscious received the stronger seed, the seed of fear. And the law is exact. "The thing I greatly feared has come upon me," said Job, and so it was with this man. His body, faithful servant of the subconscious, manifested the very disease he dreaded, and it carried him off. Was it chance? No, it was law. Fear had painted the picture, and the subconscious had obeyed. And what of you? Perhaps you do not fear disease, but how many fear bills? How many fear debts, fear unemployment, fear failure, fear rejection? They sit in their rooms rehearsing it. What if I can't pay? What if I lose my job? What if the money never comes? What if I am left behind? Each thought is a prayer to the wrong God. Each fear is a seed, and the subconscious, exact and unchanging, brings forth the harvest in kind. They say, "Why does lack always find me? Why do troubles multiply?" And I answer, "Because you have been faithful in your fear. You have believed more in evil than in good. You have put your faith in want instead of in supply. But I say to you today, fear has no power except the power you give it. It is a shadow, a mist, a false god. The antidote is always at hand, the spoken word of truth. When fear rises, do not argue with it, do not bow before it, do not let it linger. Cast it out at once with a word. Say, "I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Say it boldly, aloud, with the force of conviction. Say it until the vibration of your own words shatters the picture of fear. Say it until you feel the presence of God within you, stronger than any shadow without you. Fear cannot withstand a word of truth, spoken with faith. It flees like darkness before the rising Sunday. Let me caution you here. For many fall into another trap. They hear this law and then begin to fear their own fear. They say, "If one fearful thought comes to me, will I destroy myself? If I imagine lack for a moment, is my good ruined?" And so they live in terror of their own minds. That is inverted faith once again. Do not fear fear, do not tremble at its shadow. One word of faith is stronger than 1,000 fears. One candle drives out a lifetime of darkness. So one declaration of truth dissolves the accumulation of years of fear. Say it calmly, say it boldly, say it as one who knows, "I will fear no evil, for God is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" And the shadow will vanish. So I ask you now, where have you been placing your faith? Have you given more faith to debts than to supply? Have you given more faith to disease than to health? Have you given more faith to failure than to success? Turn it today. Withdraw your faith from evil. Place it in God. Withdraw your words from fear. Place them in truth. Withdraw your imagination from lack. Place it upon abundance. For the law will obey either way, but the harvest depends on the seed you sow. Remember this. Fear is inverted faith, but faith in God is the only true power. Choose faith, speak faith, live faith, and you will see that what once terrified you dissolves like smoke, leaving only the bright solidity of abundance beneath your feet. And now that you see fear is nothing but faith inverted, let us step into the shield that makes you unassailable, the law of non-resistance, where you refuse to wrestle with shadows, and learn how to let truth dissolve every false picture. Now I must show you a shield so powerful that no shadow of fear, no picture of lack, no wave of doubt can pierce it. It is the law of non-resistance. Most men and women live exhausted because they are forever wrestling with shadows, arguing with appearances, pushing against the very conditions they fear. They resist, and in resisting, they give their energy to the thing resisted. They feed it, strengthen it, keep it alive. But the law is clear. What you resist, you attract. What you fight, you fix. What you fear, you feed. The only true defense is not struggle but serenity, not panic but peace, not resistance but rest in the truth. Non-resistance does not mean weakness. It does not mean you submit to evil. It means you refuse to grant evil reality. It means you refuse to argue with shadows. It means you stand still and declare, God is the only power, and nothing else has authority in my life. Think of how much energy is wasted in worry. Worry is nothing but imagination run wild in the wrong direction. Worry is the mind painting pictures of disaster, rehearsing calamities, bowing down to images of loss that have no substance except the faith given to them. A worrier spends his days building altars to false gods, and then wonders why his prayers go unanswered. Worry is resistance. Worry is wrestling with wind. Worry is faith in evil. But the one who practices non-resistance looks at the same storm, the same bill, the same report, and says calmly, this has no power. God is my supply. God is my health. God is my shield. I rest in truth. And that calm word dissolves the shadow faster than all the frantic struggle in the world. I once knew a businessman who lived in torment because of his worry. Every transaction filled him with dread. Every rumor shook his confidence. He resisted every obstacle with fear, and the more he fought, the more trouble came. Then one day, while waiting for a train, he noticed a sign on the wall that read, "Why worry? It will probably never happen." That simple phrase pierced him. He laughed, and in that laugh the chain snapped. He said to himself, I have wasted years worrying about things that never came to pass. I will stop. From that day forward, he practiced non-resistance. When fear arose, he refused to argue. He said calmly, "Why worry? God is my supply, and nothing else matters." His affairs changed, his business prospered, and his health returned. He had put on the shield of non-resistance. Now let me give you a practical formula for this law. When fear rises, do not fight it. Do not try to crush it by force. Simply say, I smash and demolish every untrue record in my subconscious. They return to the dust heap of nothingness, for they came from nothing and are nothing. I now make my perfect records through the Christ within records of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Speak these words with calm authority and feel the false pictures dissolve. They are nothing. They have no substance. They have no reality. Replace them at once with the true picture. Yourself rich, yourself healthy, yourself guided, yourself free. The subconscious, faithful and obedient, erases the false and engraves the new. So I ask you, what storms are you fighting today? What shadows are you wrestling with? What appearances have you been giving power by your resistance? Let them go. Do not feed them with fear. Do not bow to them with worry. Stand still. Speak the word. Rest in the knowledge that God is the only power and all else is mist. This is non-resistance. It is the shield that nothing can pierce. And remember this, resistance creates tension, but non-resistance creates flow. The river does not resist the rock, it flows around it, and in time the rock is worn away. The light does not resist the darkness it shines, and the darkness vanishes of itself. So you need not resist fear, you need not resist lack, you need not resist delay. Stand in the light of truth, and the shadows will melt. Rest in God's supply, and lack will dissolve. Affirm love, and discord will vanish. This is the shield of non-resistance, and with it, you walk through storms unharmed, through fire unburned, through waters undrowned. And now that you know how to shield yourself against fear and dissolve doubt, you are ready to move into the next revelation, the inner compass of prosperity, the voice of God within you, intuition, which will lead you step by step into your fortune. Now we come to one of the greatest gifts of the Spirit, a gift so near and so constant that most overlook it, and yet it is the very compass that can guide you into freedom and fortune. It is intuition, the voice of God within. I call it God's wireless, for it speaks without wires, without noise, without effort, sending its message straight from spirit to your soul. It is not loud. It does not shout. It does not argue. It whispers, it nudges, it suggests, and when you obey, it always leads you into safety, into success, into supply. Most people fail to hear it, not because it is absent, but because their minds are filled with fear, with noise, with the clamors of reason and the opinions of others. The still small voice is drowned out by the roar of the world. But when you speak the word of truth daily, when you bless instead of curse, when you quiet the storm of fear, the channel is cleared, the static dissolves, and suddenly that voice is unmistakable. I have said to my students many times, never violate a hunch, for a hunch is often the first whisper of intuition. It may seem foolish to the reasoning mind, it may look absurd to those around you, it may defy appearances, but if it is a true hunch, it is divine direction. To obey is to step into the flow of supply. To ignore is to shut the door to your good. A woman once came to me with only $8, fearful and discouraged. We blessed the $8, we spoke for multiplication, and then I asked her, "Have you a hunch to do anything?" She hesitated, saying, "Only that I should go home, though it seems wasteful to spend my last coins on car fare." I said, "Obey your hunch. The voice of God will not lead you astray." She obeyed. She went home, and there she met an old friend who opened for her a channel of abundance, and thousands soon poured into her life. She said afterward, "Tell them about the woman who had $8 and a hunch." And so I do, because it proves this law beyond argument. Intuition is God's compass, and it never fails. Now you may ask, how can I tell the difference between intuition and fear, between the voice of God and the voice of my imagination? The test is simple. Fear pushes, intuition leads. Fear shouts, intuition whispers. Fear agitates, intuition assures. Fear leaves you restless, intuition brings peace. Even before results come, the true inner voice gives you a sense of calm certainty, as though an invisible hand were guiding you. When you obey, that peace deepens. When you disobey, it departs. That is how you know. Another student of mine longed for work but found every door closed. She spoke the affirmation, "I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay." Soon after, she felt a sudden impulse to walk into a certain building, though she had no appointment and no clear reason. Reason said, "Don't go." Fear said, "You will be turned away." But intuition whispered, "Go." She obeyed, and there she met the very person who gave her the position she had been praying for, a position far greater than she imagined. Reason would have kept her out. Fear would have held her back. Intuition led her in. So I ask you, how many times have you silenced that whisper? How many times have you brushed aside a hunch as foolish, as nothing, as imagination? How many doors have closed because you would not obey the knock within? You must learn to trust that voice. Each time you obey, it grows clearer. Each time you ignore, it grows fainter. Each act of obedience proves your faith. Each act of disobedience shuts the channel of supply. The difference between the one who prospers and the one who fails is often nothing more than this. The prosperous obeyed their intuition, the other did not. So remember, intuition is not rare. It is not occasional, it is constant, it is the divine voice always speaking. The problem is not that God is silent, it is that you have not yet stilled yourself to listen. Begin now. Clear the channel with words of truth. Quiet the noise of fear. Refuse to let reason drown the whisper, and when the nudge comes, when the hunch appears, obey without delay. For intuition is the voice of God within, and it will lead you step by step into the riches that belong to you by divine right. Now let me show you how a single hunch, obeyed in faith, can turn a trickle into a flood, a little into much, a last dollar into a river of supply. For intuition does not always reveal the whole path, it whispers only the next step. And many miss their fortune because they will not move without seeing the end from the beginning. But God's wireless seldom gives you the end in advance. It says only, go here, do this, call there, speak this word. And when you obey the small prompting, the larger picture unfolds. Supply multiplies not in the hand of the doubter, but in the hand of the obedient. I recall again the woman with only $8. She came to me weary, trembling with fear, convinced that she had reached her end. I said, "We will bless the $8, and we will declare, 'God is my supply, and great avalanches of abundance now flow to me, under grace, in perfect ways.'" Then I asked her, "Have you a hunch to do anything?" She hesitated, ashamed to answer. "Only that I should go home," she said softly, "though it seems foolish to spend my last coins on car fare." But I said, "Never violate a hunch. That quiet impulse is the voice of God. If he says go, go. If he says act, act." She obeyed. She spent the car fare, she went home, and there she encountered an old friend who had been searching for her. A friend who soon opened a channel of abundance, and within days she was surrounded with thousands. She said afterward, "Tell them about the woman who had $8 and a hunch, and I tell it to you now because it proves the law, a hunch obeyed multiplies supply. Do you see the principle?" She might have reasoned it away. She might have said, "It is foolish, it is wasteful, it makes no sense," and she would have sat in her fear, holding her $8 until it dwindled to nothing. But because she obeyed, the channel of abundance opened. The hunch was the key, and her obedience turned the key in the lock. Many are praying for their supply, declaring their affirmations, yet when the hunch comes, they ignore it. They wait for lightning to strike, for a windfall to fall into their laps, while the small, quiet whisper of spirit goes unheeded. And so they block their own good. Understand this: a hunch is never random, it is never accident, it is never coincidence, it is law. It is the exact guidance you need for the next step into your abundance. The reasoning mind will often scoff at it, but faith does not scoff. Faith obeys. Faith says, "I need not see the end, I will take the step." And in taking the step, the next door opens, and the next, until you look back and marvel at how perfectly the road unfolded. Another student of mine desired work but had no opening. She declared, "I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay." Soon she had a hunch to go to a certain building. She had no appointment, no reason to be there, nothing but the quiet voice within saying, "Go." Fear said, "You will look foolish." Reason said, "You will be turned away." But intuition whispered, "Go." She obeyed, and there she met the very person who opened the door to her perfect work. She told me later, "Had I delayed even a day, the opportunity would have been gone." A hunch obeyed multiplies supply. So I ask you now, what hunch have you been ignoring? What quiet whisper have you dismissed as nothing? What nudge have you reasoned away? That may be the very key to your abundance. Do not despise the day of small beginnings. Do not demand the whole map before you take the first step. Obey the whisper, and the path will appear beneath your feet. Remember this: supply is not multiplied by fear, nor by doubt, nor by clinging to appearances. It is multiplied by faith in action, by obedience to intuition, by trust in the divine whisper. Never violate a hunch. Obey, and you will see your small seed multiply into a harvest beyond imagining. And now that you see how a hunch, when obeyed, multiplies supply, let us go deeper still, into the mystery of giving, not blind giving, but giving by intuition, which keeps the river of abundance flowing without end. Now let me reveal to you a law that many resist, and yet it is the very law that keeps the river of abundance flowing. The law of giving, but not giving blindly, not giving out of fear, not giving out of duty, but giving by intuition. For true giving is not forced, it is not reluctant, it is not the grudging coin tossed into the plate. True giving is joyous, spontaneous, divinely directed. It is led by the whisper of intuition, by the inner voice that says, "Give this now, bless this person, release this gift." And when you obey that whisper, the channels of supply burst open, and what you give returns to you multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The reasoning mind protests, "If I give, I will have less." But the Spirit declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." The subconscious accepts the act of faith, records it as proof of abundance, and soon the law fulfills itself in ways that astonish you. I recall a woman who had very little, scarcely enough to provide for herself. One day, she felt a sudden hunch to give a small gift to someone in greater need. At first she resisted, saying, "How can I give when I have so little? If I let this go, I will be left with nothing." but the whisper pressed on her heart, and she obeyed. She gave with joy, trusting that she was sowing a seed, not losing a possession, and soon after, unexpected money came into her hands, multiplied far beyond what she had released. She told me, "The more I follow these promptings, the more I see the law in action. Each gift returns to me multiplied." And indeed it must, for she was giving by intuition, and intuition never leads into lack. The world teaches hoarding. It says, "Save for a rainy day, guard every coin, hold tightly to what little you have." And so men and women live in constant fear of the rainy day they are always preparing for, building barns to hold what moth and rust destroy, clutching their substance until it turns to dust in their hands. But the one who gives by intuition, who obeys the whisper without fear, finds that there is no rainy day, for the sun of supply shines constantly upon them. They are like rivers, always flowing, never stagnant, never dry. For you cannot outgive God, and the more you let flow through you, the more will flow to you. And let me say this, giving is not always money. Sometimes the Spirit prompts you to give a word of encouragement, a gift of service, a smile, an act of kindness. Whatever the whisper directs, that is the seed you must plant, and the harvest will be in kind. If you give joy, joy returns. If you give love, love rushes back. If you give money, money multiplies in your affairs. The law is precise. Every seed returns in kind and greater. So I ask you, how many times have you silenced that whisper? How many times has the nudge come to bless someone, to release a gift, to give of yourself, and you have said, "Not now, not today, I cannot afford it"? And how many times has your river of supply seemed to dry up after? It is because you closed the channel. The river flows as you give. The moment you obey, the channel opens again, and the current of abundance rushes in. Here is the practice. When the hunch comes, when the whisper says, "Give," do not argue, do not delay. Do not reason, obey at once, joyfully, knowing that you are not losing but multiplying. As you give, say, "This gift blesses and multiplies. It returns to me increased, under grace, in perfect ways." Then release it with thanksgiving. And soon you will see the harvest return, often through channels you never imagined. For remember this, giving by intuition is not sacrifice, it is strategy. It is not loss, it is increase. It is not subtraction, it is multiplication. It is the law of circulation, and it is as exact as gravity. When you obey the whisper to give, you prove that you trust God as your supply, and God always proves himself faithful. So listen, for the voice of God within you will not only tell you where to go and what step to take, it will also tell you when to give, how to give, and to whom to give. And each time you obey, the river of abundance flows stronger, wider, deeper, until your life overflows with riches beyond measure. And now that you see how giving by intuition keeps the current of supply alive, we must turn to the final proof of faith, obedience itself. For intuition may whisper, but unless you obey, the blessing cannot appear. Let us move into the law of obedience, where faith is proved by action, and miracles are released without delay. Now let me speak to you of the golden key that unlocks every hunch, every whisper, every divine direction: obedience. For intuition may whisper, faith may declare, preparation may be made, but if you will not obey when the moment comes, your good stands waiting at the door and you never open it. Obedience is the final proof of faith. It is the act that turns invisible substance into visible supply. Many hear the whisper, many feel the nudge, many sense the call, but they hesitate, they reason, they delay. They say, perhaps later, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps it was only my imagination. And in that hesitation, the door closes. The good that was waiting slips away. The opportunity passes to another. The supply vanishes like a dream. The law requires proof, and proof is obedience. I recall a man who longed for new work, new direction, a fresh beginning. He prayed, he affirmed, he declared, but nothing moved. Then one day, he felt a sudden impulse to walk into a certain building. He had no appointment, no reason to go, no business there. Reason said, "It is foolish." Fear said, "You will be turned away." But the hunch pressed him. He remembered what I had said. Never violate a hunch. So he obeyed. Inside that building he encountered an old acquaintance who greeted him with joy and offered him a position that became the very gateway to his prosperity. He said afterward, "Had I reasoned it away, had I delayed even one day, I would have missed it. Obedience changed my life in an instant." Another woman told me she often felt impulses to do small things but always ignored them, saying, "It cannot be God. It is only my imagination." And because she ignored them, her life was full of missed chances and repeated disappointments. But one day, she determined to obey. She felt a sudden nudge to take a different road home. It made no sense, yet she listened. Later she discovered that had she gone her usual way, she would have been caught in a serious accident. From that day on, she said, "I will never ignore again. I will never silence the voice within." And her life began to prosper, for obedience proved her faith, and her faith unlocked her supply. Do you see? The inner voice seldom gives you the whole plan at once. It will not unfold tomorrow until you obey today. The next step will not appear until you take the one before you. Faith demands obedience in the moment, and only then is the path revealed. That is why so many wander. They wait for the whole road to be shown, but the law does not work that way. It says, "Take this step, and then I will show you the next." If you refuse, the road remains hidden. If you obey, the road appears beneath your feet. And let me tell you, obedience is often tested in little things before it is trusted with great. A whisper to write a letter, to make a call, to give a gift, to change a plan. These small commands are the training ground. If you prove faithful in the small, the larger will follow. But if you despise the small, if you reason them away, you will not hear clearly when the larger call comes. Many cry out, "Why is God silent?" He is not silent. You have simply stopped obeying the small whispers, and so the channel has grown faint. Restore it with obedience, and the voice will grow clear again. So I ask you, what whisper have you been ignoring? What hunch have you reasoned away? What inner nudge have you put off until tomorrow? Go back and obey. Do it today. For your supply may be waiting on the other side of that act. The blessing may be standing at the threshold, waiting only for you to open the door. Obedience is not loss, it is gain. It is not bondage, it is freedom. It is not surrender to something less, it is alignment with something greater. Remember this, every act of obedience is proof of faith, and faith proved is faith rewarded. The law does not delay. When you obey, doors open, channels flow, supply hastens. Do not wait, do not reason, do not delay. Obey the whisper, and you will find that every step you take leads straight into the fortune that has been yours all along. And now that you see obedience is the final seal upon intuition, let us move to the crown of all prosperity, the truth of divine right riches, the law that ensures your wealth brings no sorrow but only joy, and that what is truly yours can never be taken from you. Now we come to the crown of prosperity, the highest law of supply, the truth that separates fleeting wealth from eternal riches. Only that which is yours by divine right will endure, and only divine right riches bring joy without sorrow. The world is filled with people who have forced their way into wealth, who have gained fortunes by cunning, by deceit, by fear, or by striving, and though they may glitter for a season, look closely and you will see the shadow that follows. Their nights are filled with worry, their homes are filled with discord, their health is drained by anxiety, and their riches, instead of blessing them, become chains about their necks. For the scripture says plainly, "The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it." This is the test, and it is infallible. If your wealth adds sorrow, it is not from God. If it brings peace, joy, freedom, and blessing, then you know it is yours by divine right. I once counseled a woman who longed to marry a certain man. She prayed for him, pleaded for him, tried to force the law to give her what she thought she wanted. But I said to her, "I will not speak the word for you to have him, for he may not be yours by divine right. If he is, nothing can keep him. If he is not, you would not be happy with him. Instead, we will speak for your right man, the one chosen for you by divine law. If this one is yours, he will return. If not, his equivalent will appear." She agreed, though her heart was reluctant. In time, the man drifted away, and another appeared, a man who was everything she had longed for, everything she had imagined, and more. She said to me, "It is uncanny, he is all that I wanted the other to be." And so it was, for the law had removed the counterfeit and given her the true. That is divine right. So it is with money. Some gather riches that are not theirs by right. They claw, they clutch, they trick, they strive, and for a season they may succeed, but soon those riches slip away or turn into burdens. Lawsuits consume them, quarrels divide them, sickness robs them, fear drains them. Wrong riches carry sorrow as their shadow. But when wealth comes by divine right, it flows easily, it remains securely, it blesses abundantly. It does not come by toil but by alignment. It does not bring anxiety but peace. It does not lead to sorrow but to joy. You may ask, but how do I know if the riches before me are mine by divine right? The answer is simple. Test them by peace. Do they bring you joy or do they trouble you? Do they expand your life or do they narrow it? Do they make you free or do they bind you tighter? Do they give you room to bless others or do they make you grasp and cling? Divine right riches always expand, always free, always bless. Wrong riches always shrink, always bind, always curse. The law is clear and cannot be deceived. Therefore I tell you, never envy another's fortune, never covet another's wealth, never chase what does not belong to you. Speak instead, that which is mine by divine right is now released to me. It comes quickly, easily, joyously, under grace, in perfect ways. When you declare this, you release the counterfeit and call in the true. And when the true comes, you will know it, for it will bring no sorrow with it. So I ask you now, what riches are you clutching that bring no joy? What possessions weigh you down instead of lifting you up? What blessings have turned to burdens? Release them. Do not fear their loss. If they are yours by divine right, they will remain. If not, something better will take their place. The law never leaves a void. Remember this, divine right riches are eternal. They cannot be stolen, they cannot be lost, they cannot be destroyed. They are your inheritance by law, and they will bless you all the days of your life. Wrong riches may glitter for a season, but they vanish like smoke. Right riches shine forever, and their light carries no shadow. And now that you see the test of wealth, that only divine right riches endure without sorrow, we must go deeper still, into the echo of desire itself. For every true desire is not a lie but the whisper of your divine design, calling you into fulfillment. Now let me tell you the secret that lies at the heart of your every longing, the key that unlocks the mystery of why you desire it all. Every true desire that rises within you is not accident, not whim, not idle fancy. It is the echo of your divine design, calling you forward into the fulfillment already prepared for you. The thing you deeply desire is the thing that belongs to you by right. The dream that returns again and again is not mocking you, it is guiding you. God does not plant hunger where there is no bread. He does not plant thirst where there is no water. He does not plant desire where there is no fulfillment. The desire itself is the signal that its supply is already waiting. The world will tell you otherwise. It will say, desire nothing, for you will only be disappointed. It will say, be realistic. Settle for what you can get. Do not reach too high. Do not dream too big. And so men shrink their desires to match their fears, and then they wonder why their lives are small. They bury their longings, silence their visions, and live in gray resignation. But the one who dares to honor desire, who dares to say, this longing is the voice of God within me, will see that every true desire carries its own fulfillment. Desire is not the enemy. Desire is the compass pointing you to what is already yours. I recall a man who longed for a certain kind of work. He said, it is too fine a position, too great for me. I cannot expect it. But I told him, the very fact that you desire it proves that it is yours by divine right. Speak the word, I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay. He obeyed. He affirmed. He refused to be shaken by appearances, and in time, the very position he had thought beyond him opened for him. He said afterward, I had been blind. The desire itself was proof that the way was prepared. Another woman came to me, longing for a home, a certain kind of house in a certain place. She said, it is impossible. I have not the means. But I told her, the desire proves its fulfillment. Speak daily. I give thanks for my divinely designed home, under grace, in perfect ways. She did so, and soon the exact home she had pictured was placed in her hands, easily, without strain, without debt. She walked into the very vision she had held in her heart. Do you not see? Your desires are not vain, they are divine signals. They are God's way of saying, this is already yours, rise and claim it. Of course there are false desires, born of envy, pride, or imitation, and these will dissolve. But the deep, persistent, joyous desire that returns again and again, that is the echo of your divine design. That is the key to your fortune. So I ask you, what desire burns in your heart today? What dream refuses to die, no matter how often you try to silence it? What vision returns to you at night, whispering of another life, another work, another wealth, another joy? Do not dismiss it, do not bury it, do not call it impossible. Say instead, this desire is the voice of God within me. Its fulfillment is already prepared. I claim it now, under grace, in perfect ways. For remember this, desire is never cruel. It is never vain. It is never planted without the power to fulfill it. It is the echo of your divine right, the signal of your destiny, the voice of God pointing you to the riches prepared for you from the foundation of the world. And now that you understand desire as destiny's whisper, we must look at the law that protects you when your longing is set on the wrong thing, the merciful law of substitution, which takes away the counterfeit and gives you the true equivalent. Now I must tell you of a merciful law that has spared many from ruin and lifted them into joy, though at the time they wept and thought themselves forsaken. It is the law of substitution. This law declares that if the thing you seek, the thing you demand, the thing you strive for is not yours by divine right, you shall not have it. But in its place, the true equivalent, the perfect substitute, will be given. At first this feels like denial, like loss, like the closing of a door. People cry out, why has God withheld this from me? But I say to you, God never withholds. He only protects, He never denies, He only substitutes, He never leaves you empty. He only clears the counterfeit to make room for the true. I recall a woman who was set on marrying a certain man. She said to me, he is the one. Speak the word that he may be mine. But I told her, I cannot. To pray for a particular person is to try to force the law. If he is yours by divine right, nothing can keep him. If he is not, then you would not be happy, for he belongs to another. Instead, we will declare, I give thanks for my right man, who now comes to me quickly, easily, joyously, under grace, in perfect ways. If this man is the right one, he will return. If not, his equivalent will appear. She agreed, though with a heavy heart. In time, the man drifted away, and another appeared, a man who matched her in every way, who was all she had longed for, and more. She came to me later, radiant, saying, he is everything I desired in the other, and beyond. That was the law of substitution. The counterfeit dissolved, the true equivalent appeared. The same law governs money, work, and possessions. A student of mine once sought a certain position. She declared for it, she longed for it, she demanded it. But the door shut, and she was denied. She wept, thinking her prayer had failed. Yet soon after, a better position opened, greater pay, greater freedom, greater joy. She told me afterward, had I been given the first, I would have been trapped. Now I see the law spared me and gave me better. That is substitution. The law does not cheat you, it saves you from sorrow. So I tell you, never cling in terror to a thing. Never cry, I must have this or I perish. Never beat at a closed door demanding entrance. If it is yours by right, the door will swing wide. If it is not, the law will close it, and in time you will bless that it was closed. Say instead, if this is mine by divine right, it is secure. If it is not, then its perfect substitute, its true equivalent, now appears. And then stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Think of it as a child clinging to a toy too small, unwilling to let it go. The parent pries it from his hand, not to leave him empty, but to give him something better, more fitting, more joyous. So it is with God. He takes the wrong to make space for the right. He removes the lesser to give you the greater. He clears the counterfeit to give you the genuine. And when you receive it, you will marvel and say, now I understand why the first was denied. This is far better. So I ask you, what are you clutching today that may not be yours by right? What door are you demanding open that God in His mercy has closed? What possession, what position, What relationship have you been forcing, though it brings you no peace? Release it, trust the law. Declare, that which is mine by divine right is now released to me, and its perfect equivalent now appears, under grace, in perfect ways. Then rest. Then watch. Then rejoice when the substitute arrives. For remember this, God never withholds, He only substitutes. And when the true comes, it brings no sorrow, no struggle, no shadow. It blesses, it endures, it frees. The law of substitution is mercy in action, and it will never fail you. And now that you see how wrong desires are mercifully replaced by right equivalents, let us finish this journey with the affirmation of divine right work and divine right. Pay the formula that secures not only wealth, but joyous service and perfect reward. Now we come to a truth that touches the daily life of every man and woman, for it concerns the very labor of your hands, the service of your heart, and the wages of your work. Many live bound in toil, grinding at tasks they despise, serving in places that suffocate them, receiving wages that insult the effort they give. They sigh, I must do this to survive. I must stay though I am unhappy. I must accept little though I give much. And so they chain themselves to bondage, believing there is no escape. But I say to you, just as there are divine right riches, there is also divine right work. There is a place prepared for you where your gift is valued, your service is blessed, your work is joyous, and your pay is perfect. You are not called to grind in fear. You are called to give perfect service for perfect pay in a perfect way. That is your birthright, and when you claim it, the law will make it manifest. I have taught my students this affirmation. I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay. These are not idle words. They are a command to the law of supply. They are a claim upon your inheritance. Speak them daily and believe, and you will see your circumstances rearranged to match them. A woman once came to me weary and bitter. She had worked for years in a place that drained her strength and paid her little. She said, I cannot leave, for I have nothing else. I told her, begin today to declare, I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay. Bless where you are, but speak for what is yours by right. She obeyed. Soon after, a door opened to her, and she was offered a position far better than she had imagined. Joyous work, generous pay, delightful conditions. She said, it feels as though this place was waiting for me. Indeed it was, for the words she spoke had prepared it. Another student, a man who had been unemployed for months, came to me in despair. He said, I have knocked on every door, sent every application, and nothing opens. I told him, stop begging, stop chasing, stop knocking at locked doors, speak the word. Say daily, I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay. Then act as though it were already here. He obeyed. He prepared his tools, though he had no work. He pressed his clothes, though he had no office to wear them in. He walked as though he were already employed. Soon after, he was offered a position that matched his talents perfectly, with pay beyond what he had earned before. He said afterward, I had exhausted myself trying. One word of truth opened the door with ease. Do you see the law? The world says, take what you can get, even if it crushes you. But the Spirit says, only what is yours by divine right will bless you. Claim it, and it will appear. Wrong work carries sorrow. Right work brings joy. Wrong wages breed resentment. Right pay brings freedom. You are not designed to be exploited, to serve in bitterness, to labor in fear. You are designed to give joyfully, to serve faithfully, to prosper abundantly. So I ask you, what words are you speaking over your work today? Do you say, I hate this job, I am underpaid, I am stuck? Those words bind you where you are. Or will you begin today to say, I have a perfect work in a perfect way, I give perfect service for perfect pay. Speak it not as a hope but as a decree. The law will hear, the channels will shift, the place prepared for you will open, and you will walk into it, marveling that what once seemed impossible has come with ease. For remember this, divine right work and divine right pay are yours now. The moment you speak, you claim them. The moment you prepare, you prove them. The moment you obey the inner voice, you step into them. They cannot be denied, for they are part of your inheritance, sealed from the beginning. And now that you see how the law secures even your work and your wages, let us bring this entire lesson to its great conclusion, sealing all that has been spoken with a mighty affirmation and leaving you with the challenge to speak daily, the one formula that makes you rich, off divine supply. And now we come to the close of this lesson. Yet I tell you, it is no end but a beginning, for the word you have heard today has already gone forth. It has planted itself in the soil of your subconscious, and even now, though you may not see it, it is taking root, it is sprouting, it is preparing to burst forth into harvest. If you will water it with daily repetition, if you will guard it with faith, if you will prove it with preparation, if you will obey it with joy, then nothing can stop it. The law is exact, the law is sure, and your fortune will unfold as certainly as the sun rises. Think of what has been shown to you. You have seen that every word is a seed, and the field of your life is nothing but the harvest of yesterday's speech. You have seen that the subconscious does not laugh, it does not excuse, it does not forget it records, and it fulfills. You have seen that curses spoken in ignorance can be broken, and blessings spoken in faith can multiply what little you have into more than enough. You have seen that money is not master but servant, not scarce but abundant, not cruel but obedient, and when you call it by its true name, divine substance, it hastens to appear. You have seen that preparation proves faith, that to dig your ditches before the rain is to guarantee that the valley will be filled with water, that to buy the trunk or the blankets is to make room for the trip and the home that are already yours. You have seen that fear is faith inverted, that doubt is a thief, that worry is wasted imagination, and that the antidote is the word of truth spoken calmly and boldly. You have seen the shield of non-resistance, the refusal to wrestle with shadows, the serenity that dissolves every false picture without struggle. You have seen that intuition is God's wireless, whispering the way step by step, and that a hunch obeyed multiplies supply, while a hunch ignored closes the door. You have seen that even giving, when led by intuition, opens the floodgates of return, and that obedience is the final proof of faith. And you have seen the crown of it all, that only what is yours by divine right endures, that true riches bring no sorrow, that deep desires are the echo of your divine design, that wrong desires are mercifully replaced by the right equivalent, and that you have a perfect work in a perfect way, where you give perfect service for perfect pay. So I say to you now, you are no longer a beggar before life, no longer a slave to fear, no longer a prisoner of appearances. You are a commander under divine law. The word you speak daily is the formula of your fortune. Speak it, prepare for it, obey it, and watch as riches flow to you with ease, under grace, in perfect ways. Let this be your affirmation, your challenge, your daily command. God is my unfailing supply, and great avalanches of abundance now flow to me, under grace, in perfect ways. Speak it morning and night. Speak it over your purse, over your work, over your home, over your future. Speak it for 30 days, and you will see the chains of lack fall away and the doors of fortune swing wide. But before we part, let me open a door of curiosity, for there is one more law, so powerful, so sweeping, that it can overturn years of debt in a single week, that it can dissolve obstacles that have stood against you for years, that it can lift from your shoulders every weight that bows you down. It is the law of casting the burden. In my next lesson, I will reveal it, the mighty command that hands every problem over to God and leaves you free. You must not miss it, for it is the missing piece that will make your prosperity complete. So click now, listen, and step into the next revelation. Let the burden of money melt into blessing. Let the word of truth crown you with abundance. Let the law of divine supply write your future in gold.